Thousands of investors in what was one of our largest superannuation funds, Colonial First State First Choice Personal Fund, were misled by the Commonwealth Bank-owned business, Ross, according to, well, the federal court today. How many more cases are we going to expect here?
Well, you just wonder, don't you? They've all come out of the Royal Commission and some of the investigations that took place as a result of that. In this particular case, it goes back to 2014 to 2016. And really what happened was that superannuation law was changing then. There were so-called My Super products that were coming out that were cheaper and in many ways the easier default fund for many superannuation investors. Now, the big funds at that time were making money off their superannuation funds. They didn't want people to go to these new, cheaper funds, and so letters were sent out. And on this case, the federal court heard something like 12,978 instances where letters were sent to people saying they had to basically take action to really stay in the fund that they were with. Now, the point is it's now been decided by the federal court as a result of this action brought by ASIC that this was misleading conduct under not only companies law but also superannuation law as well. The Commonwealth Bank has apologised today, said yes, they've acknowledged all of this. They've also said that there's around 99% of cases that have been remediated. The irony of all of this, I would have to say, Kieran, is Colonial First State's in the process of being sold from the Commonwealth Bank to the private investment company KKR. It sort of shows just that banks have just wanted to get out of this space altogether. It's been almost a feature of what's taken place since the Royal Commission.
Indeed, Ross, and from one money-making or losing scheme to another, Bitcoin, what's the latest on that?
OK, so a few things have happened here, both overseas and both here. Now, El Salvador today said it was going to start accepting Bitcoin as currency. Now, in places such as Australia and China, the United States, everybody has basically said it is not legal tender, it is not currency. Now, El Salvador, yes. But what occurred is that there were basically demonstrations, riots in the streets as a result of this. People believing their own currency was being effectively devalued. But this is also a case where there's been a warning here in Australia to a parliamentary inquiry today. Now, this has come from Afterpay, which says it believes that the government and indeed our own Reserve Bank has got to start thinking about issuing some sort of digital currency. And they say the reason for that is if they don't do it, in other words, the government and the Reserve Bank, then somebody else could very well get in there and almost take over, if you like, the business of running Australia's currency. I mean, as we've said many times here, people really don't use hard cash anymore. It's all about cards, so everything's electronic anyway.
Indeed it is. And finally, some big moves on the markets today, even though overall it was going backwards.
Indeed there were. So it was largely gold shares going backwards today. They were going backwards pretty quickly off the back of big falls in gold prices overnight as the US dollar rose as well. So there were companies such as St Barbara, here you can see down 5%, Silver Lake, Northern Star. These are our big independent, gold miners as well. You can see well off today in the markets. On the other side of it, though, you saw companies such as Macquarie Bank, where it was tipped that their interim profits could double. They were up much stronger today. You also saw Washington H. Soul Pattinson, another one, up 5%. So amongst this sort of, if you like, market confusion at the moment, the overall market was down, but there certainly were some clear spots where it's expected the company profits are going to continue to rise.